You right there guys, this is Dale of Lone Wombat Airsoft, and today we're taking a look at Tac-House Spartan in Chesterfield. Now if you've not seen one of these video reviews before, the way we always do this is I put some video annotations up there and there, so if there's a specific part of the video you want to skip ahead to, you can click on any of those and it's going to go straight to that part. Before we dive in, this is the same site where I did the Halloween Zombie Night game last year, and because my GoPro wasn't working on the day I turned up, I had to film with the Contour, which had a cracked lens still. So if you want a better indication of what the site is like to play in, especially in the dark, if you go back and watch that Halloween Zombie game, that's going to give you a better indication of what the site's like. So with that out of the way, we'll go and dive straight into the review. So the site is located just a stone's throw away from Chesterfield city centre on Goytside industrial estate. Now when I first turned up, it was a bit of a challenge finding this site. The sat-nav did drop me off on the correct street, but because there were no banners on the main gate saying this is where the site was, I was driving up and down a bit trying to find it. Where you actually want to go is, I'm going to throw up some images of Goytside Road. It's at the end of here. You drive up to the street, take a right. On your left is an active industrial building, but it's the gate on the right that you're interested in. That's the main entrance to the Tac-House site. There is a gate from the main road that also leads there, but it's always kept locked. So if I were you, I'd always go to this one here on Goytside Road. That is the main entrance. Once you turn up of the day, there's going to be a marshal there who will direct you to the car park where you can unload everything. What I recommend is you leave your car close to the building so you can unload all your gear, you don't have far to walk. But before the games actually start, make sure you move your car as far away from the building as you can. The only thing separating your car from the active game zone is distance. So you don't want to leave it too close to the building, otherwise it might get pinged by a wayward BB, so make sure you move it a good 50-60 metres back just to make sure that doesn't happen. Once you've got all your kit out of the car, if you go to the right hand side of the building, there's a little corner where the slaughterhouse and the main factory building meet up. Go through the gate down there, up these stairs, and straight in front of you is your signing on desk. Just behind that is a little shop selling all the stuff you'll need for the day, and on the left is the safe zone where you've got a massive indoor space for setting up all your gear. So prices for the day are £30 if you're not a member and £25 if you are. If you're in need of a high gun, then £40 is going to get you a gun of your choice as well as a face mask, but you are going to have to use your own ammo. But £50 will get you all of the above, as well as 3,000 rounds and a tactical vest for the day, just so you can carry all your gear around with you. It's important to notice that the lunch is not included in your walk-on fee. If you wanted one of the hot lunches they serve there, you're going to have to bring a couple of extra quid with you to make sure that doesn't trip you up, or you can buy yourself a packed lunch and bring that with you. The shop behind the signing in desk has everything you'd expect to need on a game day, so it has ammo, gas, grenades, and even a couple of handguns you can buy. It's also got some tooling you can borrow, such as Phillips head screwdrivers. I needed one so I could take the iron sights off my gun, so they'd loan you out some tooling as long as you give it straight back to them, so thanks for that guys. A couple of things to notice about this site is that the minimum playing age is 11 years old, and that's only if you have a parent or guardian's consent, i.e. they need to be there with you so they can sign on for you, or they need to provide a letter of consent which has their signature on it and specifically says they're okay with allowing you to play there. One final thing as well is the site is semi-auto only. Now what I don't know at the moment is what their stance is on guns with two-stage triggers but no fire selectors, so things like AUGs or Magpul PDRs. If your gun doesn't have a dedicated semi-auto feature, some sites do not allow you to play at semi-auto places, some of them do. So make sure you actually ask the guys before you turn up, because you don't want to turn up and just be told that you can't use your gun on the day. So make sure you actually ask if your gun does not have a dedicated semi-auto feature. So the staff on the day seemed like decent enough people to me. Unfortunately, I didn't really have that much opportunity to have a chat with them because they were too busy setting up the games. But whenever I did, they certainly came across as decent people who were very informed about what was actually going on with the game, and they were happy to help out. The morning safety beat was very quick and to the point, and during the actual games right at the start, the marshals would very clearly explain what the objective was, and so there was no confusion between the players as to what was happening. In terms of the players themselves, they were extremely welcoming of a brand new person to the site. I knew nobody there when I turned up, but I was welcomed into a couple of groups and got talking to people from both sides, so that's always nice to see. During the games themselves, there was a bit of banter going on between the teams, like people would compliment each other whenever a skillful shot was done to take someone out. And it just kept the mood very light-hearted and friendly, which is something I particularly like, especially if you've never been to a site before. It can be quite intimidating if the players don't actually talk to new people, so it's good to see they're actually very welcoming of someone who's never been to the site before. Hit taking was well above average in the first half of the day, no problems whatsoever. I saw nothing that was even slightly questionable. In the second half of the day, there were a couple of maybes, but something to bear in mind is that a lot of the rooms inside the building are very dark, so it is quite hard to see if your shots are actually connecting or not when you're ducking in and out of cover, so it could be that I just didn't see if they actually hit the person or not. But there were a few maybes in the second half of the day, but nothing that was absolutely blatant. During the games as well, the marshals would keep an eye on players, but it's uncommon to see them once you're actually wandering around the building. This is mainly due to the fact that the site is huge. And because the site is so large, it has lots of different sections where any engagements could be going on, and they'd only have a set number of people, so they can't be everywhere at once. But whenever there was a major engagement, you could guarantee there were a marshal knocking around just to keep an eye on all the players, and they would pull people aside if they suspected there was any foul play going on. So overall, the marshals were certainly doing their jobs in my eye, and it was good to see that the players were very welcoming as someone who'd never been to the site before. So the main body of the site is a large 3-storey factory building, but actually the site has a lot more to offer than just this one section. The slaughterhouse off onto the right is a 2-storey building which is completely connected to the 3-storey one, so you can play through all of those. You've also got a large garage out the back which you can't see when you turn up, but that's got a lot of large open areas to play in as well. And also all the outdoor sections right in front of the factory building, they're all playable. So actually, considering now this is a CQB site, it actually has quite a lot to offer in a small space. So the main building itself, as I said, has 3 floors and 2 main staircases to access it, so you've got a separate route if one's too hot. A lot of the floors tend to be divided off by these large tarpaulin nets, so they can make like little maze structures on the inside of it and divvy the rooms into sections. But what I like is that because these are just netting and not something concrete, you can actually take them down, rearrange it, and bang, you've instantly got yourself a brand new site. So I imagine the site has a lot of replayability value just because of that. As well as the tarpaulin nets, outside you've got a lot of these large plastic containers which can be shifted around as well, but during the games what I liked about these is they're only providing cover in one specific direction, so whilst you're safe from the person directly in front of you, if anyone gets around the side you're going to be extremely vulnerable, so it encourages a lot of fast-paced flanking manoeuvres on the outdoors. You can find yourself chasing people around these containers all day, and so it makes for really interesting gameplay. When you are outdoors, however, you do have to watch out for people taking pot shots from the windows. Now, on the 3-storey building, there's only 2 windows where you can actually do this from. The slaughterhouse has a couple of extra ones, but as a general rule on the site, what they say is if the opening is smaller than an A4 bit of paper, then you can't shoot through it. So what this means is that whilst you do have to be wary of these windows, you don't have to be scanning every single one, because there's only a couple of select places where people can take shots from. So whilst it does add a random element, it means that you don't have to be completely paranoid about everything you can see, so that's what I particularly like about it. Outdoors as well, you've got a large fort just in front of the main building which has about 270 degrees worth of cover, so it's like a large hill almost with some wooden pallets on the outside to provide some cover. So it's interesting trying to take that because you can only enter from one way, but you can actually shoot through some of the pallets. As well as this, as I said, the garage at the back has it's a very large and open area, so it's only the 1 floor, but because it's quite large you can go around on the inside quite easily. It's got a lot of abandoned cars in there as well which you can play through, and one little rascal van which has tried to be converted into a helicopter. Points to effort for that, actually, like you can tell some work's gone into that. But the main meat and body of the site is in the indoor gameplay. Now, like a lot of CQB sites, bring a torch. A lot of the areas are completely blacked out, and so if you really want to see what this site has to offer, make sure you bring a strong source of light with you, otherwise you're going to have to be secluded to the very few areas that are actually completely lit by daylight. So as with all CQB sites, bring a torch with you if you want to see what this site is all about. But what I tended to do was favour the outdoor areas more than the indoor ones, just because it allowed you to quickly run around the building, get in from another doorway that wasn't covered and attack people from an unseen angle. So the site does give you options. You're not just forced down a singular pathway with a big bottleneck on it, so you can actually attack people from other angles, and that's what I like about it. You do have options to go around. It makes the games a lot more interesting, and for the most part throughout the day, all of the site was open. So if you had the patience and enough stamina, you could quite easily run the entire way around the site and come up behind people. So that's what I particularly like about it. It keeps you on your toes, and it means that the game's a lot more fluid. You don't get stuck in certain choke points. It just makes it everything interesting. So I certainly love the terrain on offer at this site. So a lot of the game modes on offer tended to revolve around tried and tested methods, such as your standard attack and defense style things, where you get one team that sweeps one floor, all the dead guys move to the next one, repeat until the entire site has been wiped, and just straight up TDMs. But there were two games that specifically stood out to me as being really quite interesting and fun. The first one was a kill confirmed game type, whereby instead of collecting dog tags from dead players, you actually had to medic the player and then drag them back to your respawn point so they could sign a bit of paper to say they've been captured, and then whoever had the most signatures was the winner. This was a particularly interesting one because for some reason the other team didn't really seem that inclined to let you steal their players. So unless you could actually wipe out an entire squad of people before the first guy bled out, it made it really quite of a challenge to get these people back to your starting zone. The second one was a game where we had two objectives, and the first one was hidden in the building somewhere. We had to go and find it and fight off the other team while we were looking for it. The second one was a Land Rover that was just driving around the outside of the building, and you could hijack it and then jump in with a couple of your mates and ride shotgun in this landy, shooting people out the windows. Now, the actual game was you had to bring these two objectives together, so you had to find the one in the building, bring it to the Land Rover, and that's you with the win. But, of course, the risk is the closer these two objectives get to each other, the easier it is for one team to snatch both of them at the same time and claim a last-minute victory. So there's a bit high risk-reward thing going on with that. But what really made that game mode shine was the fact that you could actually ride in the Land Rover and shoot people out of it. It never got old suppressing people behind some of those big plastic containers and then just having a couple of your mates roll up and do a drive-by on them and carry on their merry way. No matter how many times we did that, it did not get old. It was so much fun just seeing people getting taken out from behind by the Land Rover because they weren't expecting it because they were too busy focused on you. As well as this, during the actual lunch period, whilst it's not a game in of itself, there was like a CQB time trial in the shooting range they have there. So what would happen is they'd set out a range where you had to follow specific instructions. So shoot two targets, go around the cones, pick up a shield, shoot two more, change your mag, that kind of thing. And whilst it was quite fun to take part in it was also fun to watch as well, because you had some people that were really into it and knew exactly what they were doing, and then you had a lot of people that had absolutely no clue. So it was good fun watching and taking part in that. Another good thing I like about what they do as a site is they do not allow draws to happen. If at the end of the game the points between the teams are equal, what they'll then do is they'll get a couple of people from each side to volunteer themselves, and they'll have a pistol duel to determine who actually won the game. So there are no draws on this, you either win or you don't, and if there is a bit of a tiebreaker, you can volunteer yourself to take part in these pistol duels, which are quite good because you've got the entire team egging these people on whilst they're trying to take each other out. So there was a lot of competitiveness encouraged in these games, which is something I really quite liked. There was only one game that I kind of tripped up a little bit on, and that's one of the attack-defend ones where I was a defender. What would happen is you had 3 respawns, but when I was killed the first time, I couldn't actually find a safe place to respawn in the building because where I was, there was already another enemy team player just there, and the places I did actually manage to respawn back in safely, I was instantly taken out because I just didn't know the layout of the site. So I'm not entirely sure how that could be improved. Maybe have set areas where the team can respawn in that the enemy team can't actually attack until all the players have been wiped out. Maybe that could be one solution to that sort of thing, but in an entire day's worth of games, that was the only bit that tripped up. So actually, for the overall experience, it was actually incredibly fun playing on the games, and I cannot stress enough how much fun that Land Rover was, just going up to it, hijacking it, riding shotgun and shooting someone out the window. So ultimately then, is the Tac-House Spartan in Chesterfield worth paying a visit? Well, to be frank, I can't personally think of a good reason why you shouldn't come and see what this site is all about if you live local to Chesterfield or the Derbyshire area. There's only a couple of things you need to bear in mind, like obviously it's an indoor CQB site, so bring a torch so you actually can see in the darkened areas. Make sure to park your car away from the outside playing areas because you don't want it dinged by a BB. And also bring a couple of quid with you or a packed lunch, because the lunch isn't included in your walk-on fee and you don't want to get tripped up by that. But other than that, there really isn't that much I can complain about with the site. The games were intense, the modes on offer were quite fun, and it was good to explore this building, especially since I'd never seen it before. It was quite an adventure just going through all the darkened hallways and trying to figure out where you were going. Also, getting to sit around in the back of a landing and shoot people out of the window was incredibly good fun, which I've never had the opportunity to do at another site. So if you're local to the Chesterfield area or you're not that far away at all, then if you fancy some CQB action, definitely get yourself down to Tac-House Spartan in Chesterfield and see what this site is all about. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this site review of the Tac-House Spartan. If you've got any questions you'd like to give me, feedback, maybe you'd like to share your own experiences of what this site was like so people watching this video have a wider view of what the site is all about, leave them in the comments down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And until next time, this has been Dale of Lone Wombat Airsoft.